Most people and families want to see the next generation do better than they did. But for many families, that just isn't the reality. Families that have little or no accumulated wealth are at high risk for economic decline and generational downward mobility, meaning the next generation does worse, sometimes significantly worse than they did. And in America, none are more susceptible to this than the black middle class. The Family Wealth Generation Project is my answer to that problem. Hello, everyone. My name is Antonia Martinez, also known as Dr. M, the Inner Power Doctor. Welcome to the Family Wealth Generation Talk, empowering the black middle class. My passion is whole life empowerment and the development of human potential inside and out. I coach, I counsel, I educate. I work in a number of ways to help people, communities, and organizations to evolve and create a better future for themselves now. I created the Family Wealth Generation Project to address a critical need. Black middle-class families in America are disappearing. Fewer families are able to enter or sustain middle-class status, and generational economic mobility is on a downward trend. Black middle-class children are failing to reach middle-class status as adults to the tune of 60%. That's what you're seeing here in this graphic. A study followed 10,000 black and white boys, represented by the blue and yellow squares respectively, to see where the boys ended up as adults. While the white boys tended to become wealthier as adults, the vast majority of black boys ended up on the path of downward economic mobility, including the ones who grew up wealthy. The income disparity for black and Latino people compared to white people is gaping. In 2018, the median income for black households was nearly $22,000 lower than the median American household income. And it was less than the national median household income in 1967 if we adjust for inflation. Today, if you currently earn $47,000 a year or less, then comparatively, you earn less money than 50% of all Americans earned more than 50 years ago. To put an end to this repeating cycle of economic decline, the Family Wealth Generation Project aims to provide middle-class families with strategies and other assistance for creating generational wealth, maintaining upward mobility, and elevating their socioeconomic status. To that end, the project has three major goals. Goal 1, to assess and reduce chances of economic downward mobility for middle-class families at risk, starting in the greater New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan areas. Goal 2, to help families establish and build towards specific high net worth goals that facilitate generational upward mobility. Goal 3, ensure that families have a viable, actionable wealth continuation plan that is understood by and passed down to family members. A cornerstone of the Family Wealth Generation Project is the Generational Wealth Assessment tool I created based on research. So an important next step will be to build an online version. The assessment will help families measure their risks and strengths for upward mobility, build a roadmap for generational wealth, and match them with resources they need to successfully reach their destination. If you are interested in taking the assessment when it becomes available online, go to wealthgenerationproject.com to sign up for updates or send me an email. This project is not just about earning more and saving more. We need to do more than that to break this cycle. What I've found through research is that for Black families in America, there are 9 major domains and as many as 25 different factors that can strengthen the ability to accumulate and maintain wealth, or that put families at greater risk of getting trapped in a downward economic spiral. I'm going to talk about a few of those factors. But first, let's talk about net worth, because that is the crux of wealth and the crux of the need for this program. Net worth is the difference between your assets, what you own, and your liabilities, what you owe. Your net worth is your wealth. On the current economic trajectory, Black median wealth in America is expected to reach 0 by 2053. What does that mean? It means half of all Black people in America would have a negative net worth and owe more than they own. In 2016, the median net worth of Black households was $17,150. This is a mere 10% of white median net worth in 2016 and only 17.5% of what the national median net worth was. Equally disturbing, the Black median net worth in 2016 was only $50 more than what it was in 1995. Even in the highest income brackets, Black net worth is overshadowed almost 250% by white net worth. And I want to emphasize that the $171,000 in net worth that you see here for white families is not the top of the food chain. It's the middle. Half of all white families in America had a greater net worth than that. The net worth crisis is compounded for Black families where women are head of household because they tend to earn less money. In New York City, the wage gap for Black women is the highest in the country. Despite this crisis, however, and despite the fact that more than half of Black middle-class families end up poor by the next generation, relatively few programs address this population specifically. Most financial empowerment and economic justice programs target low-income families. Programs that are more inclusive might only address basic issues. They might bog participants down with such red tape or restrictions that many never complete the process of enrolling, or they might diminish participants' wealth-building power by prohibiting or requiring this or that. Some programs, particularly home ownership programs, can potentially increase a family's risk for downward mobility long term, because in terms of generational wealth, there's more to owning a home than just owning the home. These programs generally are not designed to address the full spectrum of risk and protective factors associated with upward mobility for the Black middle class crisis. And that's what the Family Wealth Generation Project seeks to do. In broad terms, the two biggest threats to survival for the Black middle class are, one, insufficient accumulated wealth to pass on to the next generation. Passing on some wealth is better than no wealth, but to resolve the crisis, it needs to be enough wealth. The second big threat, inequality and discriminatory practices in education, lending, employment, housing, property values, and other areas, contributes to lower incomes, less savings, and greater liabilities. Another perhaps less explored variable in this crisis is the economic impact that the unjust loss of Black lives may have on some families. Like that brilliant son or daughter on their way to becoming a doctor, a lawyer, or some other successful professional whose life was cut short. In addition to economics, there are important psychological and cultural components behind the generational wealth crisis. Those are topics for another presentation, but the point I want to make is that passing wealth on needs to be a deliberate intention, attached to a strategy, and embedded in the culture. What is the plan to set your family up for success and upward mobility generation after generation after generation? In my opinion, every family should have such a plan. And every plan should strive to address and protect against specific risk factors that individual family members face. Helping families figure out a plan is one of the most critical and unique aspects of the Family Wealth Generation Project. So let's take a look at just a handful of factors that put Black middle-class families and their wealth at risk. Having lower middle-class status. That's where most Black middle-class families are, which puts them at risk for downward mobility, as does being first or second generation middle class. Having a net worth of less than $100,000, having fewer than 4 years of college education, and that's around 80% of Black Americans. Divorce. Children with poor math scores are at higher risk when they become adults. Supporting extended family. Culturally, for Blacks, Latinos, and many people of color, extended family, your aunt, your grandmother, some cousins, are considered close family. But that's not a problem. The problem is when just one person or even 2 or 3 people are shouldering the economic responsibility for numerous people beyond their children and significant other. This can have a negative and sometimes devastating impact on the family's ability to accumulate wealth. Now let's talk about some of the protective factors. Completing 4 years of college, having multiple homes or investments, living in high-quality school districts, inheriting wealth and property. White families have an 8-to-1 inheritance advantage over Black families. Providing financial support to children as they transition into adulthood between the ages of 18 and 34. The greater the support during those years, the greater the success. But there does seem to be a minimum magic number, so to speak, for the most successful transition. Parental involvement in school. Developing cultural and social capital, such as exposing yourself and children to sports, music, the arts, social clubs, professional networks, etc. Again, these are only a few of the contributing factors that positively and negatively affect generational wealth for Black families in America. But there are other related experiences, implications, and consequences that take their toll, personally, professionally, and psychologically. So for me, as a coach and a counselor, it is critical that a comprehensive program aimed at closing the racial wealth gap also addresses issues of mental health, well-being, personal growth, and professional development. That's what I seek to create. Through direct services and education, through partnerships with other professionals and organizations and referrals, it's my mission to equip families with what they need to create and sustain generational wealth. The Family Wealth Generation Project is more than just an initiative or a program that I'm developing. It's a movement and a paradigm shift for Black families. As it grows, I envision it becoming a national network hub that connects families with the array of resources they need to successfully secure, sustain, and increase generational wealth. So I'm looking to partner with companies, organizations, and professionals nationwide to complement and add to the growing range of services that my companies offer and coordinate now, including alternative and creative funding options for startups, unconventional businesses, personal use, and even creative and entertainment ventures. Coaching, masterminds, webinars, and workshops for personal development, professional growth, and empowerment. Real estate income and wealth building opportunities. And help for homeowners to avoid losing their properties, increase property values, or get more when selling their homes. I can't tell you the number of families I've seen lose their wealth because they lost, sold, or abandoned their homes without knowing all their options. These are just a few of the kinds of services and partnerships I'm looking to cultivate with the goal of helping families to utilize them strategically to bridge gaps in their wealth generation plan. So next steps. If you're interested in being a part of the Family Wealth Generation Project, or if you're interested in taking the assessment when it becomes available online, connect with me. Go to wealthgenerationproject.com to sign up for updates or send me an email, or follow me on social media. Find me at InnerPowerDoc on Twitter, or find me at InnerPowerDoctor on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thank you. I am Dr. M, the Inner Power Doctor. I look forward to hearing from you and working together to make this project and paradigm shift a success.